out in the middle of this year, I'll do it because I want you to see something. Once we finish the first chapter, I want you to see something from the Rebbe's first mimer, and I meant to copy it and bring it.
Just a quick question. I want to know what the name of the mimer is.
Bosi leGani, rather famous.
Okay.
Okay, so we just finished our discussion of Mamale. 4 different worlds, 4 different levels of reality. That, relative to Keiches HaNefesh, relates to what are called there in red Keiches Panimim, the inner powers of the soul, those powers of the soul that are clothed in different limbs of the body. So relative to those powers, we can talk about higher levels and lower levels and more sophisticated and less sophisticated. Obviously, intellect is a much higher, so to speak, power than you have one of these?
We are in the same. Oh no, easy enough.
Tomorrow won't help. Tomorrow will help at certain times of the day, but not at 7:30 in the morning. Powers that obviously intellect is a much more sophisticated and higher power, so to speak, than movement. Okay, therefore it's clothed in a much more serious kli. It's clothed in a much more serious kli. What would that correspond to in worlds? Eilam Atzilus. Right? Generally, Chochmah is Eilam Atzilus. That's how movement, Eilam Asiyah. Right? This world. Right? Okay. Higher levels, lower levels, differentiated reality, that's all a function of Mamale. Amnam, however. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines down on page 112. Kol zehu ba'er sheba lahachiyas es ha'elamis bebechinas mamale kolam. All of this is relative to the light, meaning everything we've said in the last 15 lines is relative to the light that comes to power the world and vitalize the world in a fashion of mamale kolam. Right? Fills the world. Aval. Now, what do we really want to understand? We really want to understand Seive. Why do we want to understand Seive? Because of that line in Tanya, which we're trying to explain. Kadis kafia sitra acha, istala kikra dekucha brichu b'chul almi. When you subdue the sitra acha, you reveal a level of light that exists in all of the worlds equally. And what is that level of light? Seive. What's the mashal for that level of light and powers of the soul?
Oh, the will.
Will and one other, right? 100%? Pleasure. B'diuk. Ratzon and Tanug, right? Which are powers of the soul that are not clothed in any particular limb in the body, but power the body equally. Right? Your will is expressed by every limb in the body. Right? Your pleasure can be expressed or experienced by all sorts of different aspects of your being: intellectual, emotional, physical, spiritual, all sorts of different types of pleasure. Your will can be expressed by virtue of thinking about something, looking at something, speaking about something, touching something, moving, jumping, rolling, doing a kula at the end of a farbrengen, whatever it is. That's all an expression of your ratzon. Some loftier and some less lofty expressions. But it's all ratzon. Ratzon powers everything equally. Now, I can't say that doing a kula is an expression of intellect. It's not. It's movement. Right? I can't say that speaking is an expression of hearing. It's not. 2 completely different powers of the soul. That's all mamala. Right? Soivev, they're both expressions of ratzon, speaking and hearing. Right? I'm listening to something because I want to. I'm saying something because I want to. And what did we say? We said when a person subdues the sitra achra soul, they draw down into this world an incredibly powerful, infinite level of godly light called Seivev, the light that surrounds, the light that encompasses. Shababa b'china Seivev u'makif le'elamis. That it comes in a fashion of surrounding and encompassing the world. So that does not mean it's not here. Seivev is here as much as Mamale is here, so to speak, however we define here. It just means it's not revealed. What is it that allows for something to be revealed? Kalim. Right? We've talked about that many times. Kalim brings about revelation. Right? What's an example that we've used many, many, many times? Baruch Hashem, the moon in the sky. Right? The moon in the sky reflects sunlight. Okay, if you look to the right of the moon, right, a nice big moon, the right side of the moon is shining, so the moon looks like a Zion, right? If you were to draw a line right above the moon, so it'll look like a Zion, right? The light will be on the right side of the moon as you're looking. So that means the sun is over there on the right side of the moon, obviously below the horizon, and the sunlight is coming from that place all the way to the moon. So that means that whole area to the right of the moon is full of sunlight. But you don't see it. Why don't you see the sunlight? Well, why don't you see the sunlight? First of all, it's shining above the atmosphere, so you don't get that blue sensation. Okay, why else do you not see the sunlight that's shining? You know it's shining because the sun is over there and the moon is over here, and this moon is reflecting that sunlight, so this whole space is full of sunlight. Why don't you see it? What's missing? One simple little word. Kli. There's no vessel for the revelation of the light. Is the light there? Of course the light's there. There's no vessel for it to be revealed. That's what vessels do. That's what kalim do. Kalim reveal light. Now, they reveal a certain aspect of the light. We talked about this last week a number of times. They reveal a finite, specific aspect of the light. They hide the infinite nature of the light. Okay, now relative to sunlight, that's not as relevant, right? Okay, although, what does the moon reveal in light? White. No colors. Why? Because it reflects it all. Right? So then, interestingly enough, what do you see when you see all of light reflected? No colors. Is light full of colors? Chock full of colors. Right? A lot of colors in there. For all of that, we've said it so many times, an infinite amount of colors, so to speak, exists in that light beam. Okay? Not reflected by the moon. Why not? Because the moon doesn't absorb any of the colors and reveal any of the colors. It just reveals the, so to speak, infinite nature of the light. And that's obviously not infinite, but in terms of colors, it reflects all of the light, and that's white. If it absorbed all of the light, then that would be black. If it just reflected the blue, then you'd see a blue moon, right? A blue moon. There's someone should write a song about a blue moon. Must be a song about a blue moon, huh? That would be a song, no doubt, with some violins in the background. A blue moon. Is there a song? What's a blue moon?
Harvest Moon.
Harvest Moon. Okay, Harvest Moon.
Canadian.
There you go. By Canadian. Jeez, I should know that song, huh?
Without a dream of my own.
Here we go. I got him started. Now I'm in trouble. Is that for the coffee or the Chassidus? Hopefully the Chassidus. Okay. All right. So again, it's not that the light is not here. It's simply not revealed because it's too powerful to be revealed. And down here we say in a kli or through a kli. Because when we talk about physical light, so we're talking about physical light reflecting off things. When we talk about godly metaphysical light vitalizing things, we talk about it being clothed in the thing, right? It penetrates into it, gives it vitality. Okay, so it doesn't reflect off. But other than that, physical light is still a wonderful tool to help us understand something about godly light. As a matter of fact, that's why we call godly energy light. Okay. V'zeu b'chul almin. And this is, I'm sorry, I didn't read the last 5 words. Hare meir b'chol ha'elamus b'shavah. That shines in all of the worlds equally. Just like Ratzon shines in all of you equally, so to speak. It expresses itself in all sorts of different aspects of your being. So too, Or Sevev is a level of godly light that is found as exactly the same way in Atzilus and in Olam Asiyah. No difference. And if you think about it, it's very clear that both expressions of God's will, right? V'zeu b'chul almin, and this is what it means b'chul almin. Hainu, she'or zeh, this light, Hine, oifen hamshachose, the way it is drawn down into the world, who, or the worlds, in all the worlds equal. It's no differentiation. Where does differentiation come from? That level of godly light called or mimale, the light that fills. And what does it fill? Kalim. And what do kalim allow for? Different expressions of light, just like all the kalim on this table are allowing for different expressions of the one light that's flying around the room. There's some blue over there, and there's some red over there, and there's some brown over there, and there's some black over there, and there's some white over there, and a little more blue. Right? What allows for all of that? Differentiation, kalim. The light's all the same light. There's no differentiation in the light itself. Right? But it expresses itself in different ways, depending on which kli. And in this context, we're talking about depending on which kli it's reflecting off. Okay, when you talk about existence itself, you're talking about in which kli it is being clothed in. Okay. Same idea. So every single one of us is equally an not every single one of us, every single thing in this room is equally an expression of God's existence. But some express themselves as gaming, a dumb table. Right? Some express themselves as plastic. It thinks it's smart. It's not really. Right? This thing in the some of that godly energy expresses itself in this incredible creature called Jew. Amazing thing. Walks around, thinks about things, does mitzvahs. Amazing. Amnam, however, how is it we draw this down into all the worlds? When we say we draw it down, it doesn't mean that this light doesn't exist if chas v'shalom, you and I do no aveda. It means we draw it down in such a way that it's here in panimi, meaning it's here as a result of our aveda. Who al yedei aveda v'aveda sabirurim. This is what we talked about earlier in this chapter. Through our Aveda. Aveda is a birurim. What's birurim? Rectification. And I heard someone translate birurim in a very interesting way last week. Untangling. Untangling existence, so that it's not just this mess of wires that seems to have no beginning and no end. That no, there's an order to it all, and this wire goes here, and this wire goes here, and this thing fits for this, and this thing does this. Interesting way of describing birurim, untangling the mess. Right? The bechinas, what with the spaghetti syndrome, so untangling all of that, so then you know where everything is and how what it's fit, where is it supposed to fit, and what's its function. And that's how we relate to using Eilam Hazeh in a proper way. The Bechinas, and what are the two different levels of Aveda that we learned about already in the previous page? The Bechinas is Kafya, subduing the Yetzer Hara. Vishafcha, transforming the Yetzer Hara. So that what might have been a desire at some point in a person's life, they've worked very, very hard and done away with that desire. They no longer have that negative desire. So that energy has now been transformed into something positive. V'zeu kadiskafya sitra achra, and that's what the Balatanya means when he says, when you subdue the sitra achra. Kasher payel b'avedasa, when a person causes through his aveda, liyos iskafya sitra achra, that he brings about a limiting of a subduing of the sitra achra, the other side, meaning it's a hara, never shabanis. Now that can also be that which exists outside of him, right? Meaning physical reality, also using physical reality for a positive purpose as opposed to a negative purpose. But the source of that desire obviously is coming from within. The bechinas is kafya. I'm sorry. Liyas is kafya sitra achot. Ve'ishafcha, and transforming chashucha l'nahara, darkness to light. So again, that transformation can be internal. But that transformation is also very, very powerfully expressed externally, taking an object which generally posits its own existence and not God's. It's not advertising God, it's advertising itself. And yet you can use that object to bring about a revelation of God in this world, okay? You're taking a piece of darkness and using it ultimately to reveal light, to reveal godliness. So a green stick can end up being a lulav. A cow can end up being a mezuzah, tefillin, and cholent. It's quite amazing. Right? The cow itself is not walking around revealing godliness by virtue of his life in the field, eating his grass, and gently mooing under the blue moon. And it's just writing more lines in the song for you. Right? Okay. So that cow is not revealing godliness in such a powerful way. Well, okay, well, he certainly is when he becomes a pair of tefillin, isn't he? Right? Matter of fact, he's now become a davar shebegedusha that has to be treated with respect and can't go certain places in Elam Hazeh. The cow could walk into a latrine, but can't take tefillin in there. Right? So mostly a cow, that tefillin, most of what you've got is a cow. The only part that's not is some ink. Right? And yet that cow has now been elevated to a davar shebegedusha that has to be treated properly, and we do treat it properly. We try not to have mundane conversations while we're wearing it, and we certainly don't eat or drink while we're wearing it. Okay, that cow. Quite a transformation of that cow. That's pretty astounding. And as we saw earlier in the Ois, so obviously the Beis Hamikdash is the most powerful expression of that, and taking physical objects and turning them into a vehicle to reveal godliness. The Beis Hamikdash, a place of absolute holiness, where when you walk in, you're aware of God's existence. You see it; it's revealed. What's there? No, a bunch of gold and some silver and some copper, right? Wood that's not revealed. No wood sticking out, right? Stones, amazing curtains, cloth, goat skin, no cows. They show up on the altar. They're also elevated that way. Right? Hine, and when we do that, Yisrael na'or hu mi'achoshech dafka. Now, the simple translation of that is the greatest light, or the advantageous light, is from the dark. In other words, the light that emerges from the dark is a more powerful light. Now, we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to say it and translate it, because that's what the Rebbe is going to explain to us in the Rebbe's first mimer, which we are going to see as soon as we finish the paragraph, which means I'm going to have to disappear and make the copies, which I forgot to do, and I apologize. Right? Okay. What exactly the pneumistic understanding of Yisro Na'or, the Rebbe is going to explain to us. But the simple understanding is the greatest light emerges from the dark. It does not. I mean, sometimes it does, but in this context, it does not mean that it's all relative. It happens because it's dark. So when you turn on the light looks brighter. The bathroom light in the morning is very, very bright. Okay, but it's not that. It's deeper than that. Sometimes it does mean that, but not in this case. Hainu. The kasher choshech, what does this mean? That the darkness is transformed into light. Hine nasa yisr na'or. It brings about a higher level of light. Transforming darkness into light brings about a higher level of light, which is exactly the purpose for the existence of the darkness. Why is it that the Eibusha created a world that doesn't necessarily reveal him? In order that you and I, through our avodah, can bring about a revelation, and that revelation would be higher than the revelation that would be brought about from above, which is really quite astounding, and we'll see how that works. Hine nasa yisra na'or, greater light. Sha'or meir begilui, that the light shines in a revealed way, ad asher yari lamata mamish, until it even shines down here in this lower realms. V'hainu shenim shacha'or. So now the Rebbe is saying, interesting enough, that you're actually, through avodah, bringing about a revelation of Sevev, right? A higher level of light, right? Is what, and now it's simply, what are you revealing? God's will, Sevev. You're not simply revealing the godliness that vitalizes this object. You're revealing a higher level of godly light that is the source of it, God's will, which gives it its most essential existence. Why does it exist? Because God wants it to. How does that happen? Okay, there's a process in which godly light is clothed in a vessel and allows for this thing to exist. Okay, so that's the physics of it, right? Okay, but what's the ultimate purpose? What's the ultimate purpose of it? To reveal God's will. Say that. But we'll see how the Rebbe explains that. It's drawn down the light in such a way, the way of it's being drawn down, in all the worlds equally. That's Sevev. V'zeu kadiskafi sitra achra, and this is what the Balatanya means. How long? It took us 25 lines to explain this. Baruch Hashem. V'zeu, this is the end of the explanation. Kadiskafi sitra achra. When we subdue the sitra achra, istalak yikrid dekucha brichu b'chul almin, it goes out the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in all of the worlds. That means, again, all of the worlds is not the address where the light is revealed. It's an adjective describing the light. The light that is in all the worlds equally goes out. That's the pshat in that line. That's how the Rebbe explained it to us, as clearly as can be. When you subdue the sitracha, istalik, it goes out. What goes out? The light of God that exists in all of the worlds equally. The level of light, that it's drawn down, or hasevev kolamin, the light that surrounds, meaning infinite godly light. That the way this light is drawn down and the way this light reveals itself is in a way of surrounding all of the worlds equally. If so, it shines down below, as it is above. It's not that there, so to speak, is any less sevev here. Mamale? Absolutely, that's what we learned. Mamale, the level of Or Mamale down here is definitely a lower quality and a lower quantity of the level of Or Mamale and Eilam Atzilus. The Rebbe said that absolutely clearly, and that's what distinguishes Or Atzilus from Eilam Atzilus, from Eilam Asiyah. How are they different? They're different. They're different. The light is different. The kelim are different. How do you create difference? Light and kelim dancing with each other to create differentiated reality. Okay, that's how finite reality comes into being. Kelim allow for infinite light to express itself in finite. So kelim are. Okay, what if there's no kli and the light expresses itself in its innate infinite way? That's how that's the nature of light, right? Light is infinite, is the revelation of God's infinite nature. Kli is a revelation of God's finite nature. God's finite? Well, God's no less finite than infinite. Because he's neither. Because he's beyond both, which we've talked about many times. If you say God's infinite, you're limiting him. Because infinite can't be finite, and God can be whatever he wants. So what aspect of God is infinite, or what aspect of godliness is responsible for finite reality? Kli. Where is the Kli itself godly? Eilam Atzilus. So we talked about it when we went through the four worlds. Everywhere else, the Kli is a created reality. In Eilam Atzilus, the Kli is not a created reality, it's a godly reality, which is the true essence of the Kli. Where does that, what's the source of all that above, so to speak? Tzimtzum Rishon, right? Famous event, which is hard to understand, right? When a Kadosh Baruch Hu decides, so to speak, that he wants a dir b'tachtonim, what happens? There's a revelation, what comes into being, which wasn't there before. There's no before, obviously, but what wasn't there before, those are the only words you and I can use, right? It wasn't there before. What comes into being? An explosion of infinite godly light. Light so powerful can't possibly be the source of a finite world. It's just far too powerful. Okay. What happens to that light? There's an event called Tzimtzum Rishon. Somehow that light is sucked back up into its source, leaving what? What's called a halal, so to speak, an empty space. It's not an empty space. It's not empty. What's being revealed there? Find it. What's the light? The revelation of infinite. What's tzimtzum? The revelation of finite. It's really quite an astounding idea. So to speak, there's an empty space. There's not an empty space. Right? I mean, the machlekes between the Balatanya and the way the Gra explains Tzimtzum, the Gra explains Tzimtzum is the Tzimtzum Kepshute, that there's really a place devoid of godliness. And that's basically the world. And the only way you can connect to godliness in the world is through Torah, because Torah is the light that comes into the world. And if you're holding on to the Torah and holding on to mitzvahs, so then you're holding on to light. But everything else is devoid of godliness. Chassidus disagrees with that completely. It's all godliness. That doesn't mean that everything you do is godly. A person can do something that is contrary to God's will. How do you know? Well, it says in the Torah, don't do it, so that you can't be smarter than the Torah. Right? God said, I don't want you to do that. And if you do that, you're connecting to a negative reality. Okay. But there's no place absolutely devoid of elokus. What aspect of godliness might be revealed more powerfully? The ability of God to reveal himself in finite. That's Tzimtzum. That's this year's Maimer of Bosi leGani, right? We're in our cycle, we're in the 15th chapter of the previous Rebbe's Maimer, which is Tav Shin Chaf Hey in 1965, and in Tav Shin Mem Hey 1985, the Rebbe explained that part of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer, right? Because we're only learning the first 5 chapters. There's 20 chapters, as we talked about when we started learning the Maimer. And the Rebbe went through each chapter each year, one chapter each year. So this year is already chapter 15, and the Rebbe, what does that explain? The idea of tzimtzum above concealment of godliness. But what's tzimtzum? A revelation of finite. That's why on a certain level, the source of the kli is higher than the source of the light. Because the kli comes from that event. The creating, so to speak, of a kli, the image of a halal reik, of an empty place into which light will emanate. But that empty place is not empty. It's empty of light. It's not empty of elokus. וזהו כדיסקף סטרח יסתל כתגוש ברכו לעמים, בכינס האור, שנמשך אור סבב כל העמים, in 5 lines up, I went back, I'm sorry. שאופן המשכוסי הוא בכינס סבב ומקי בכל העולם אז בשווה, ואם כן, if so, מאיר גם למטה, כמו שהוא למטה. וזהו, and this is pshat, and now we're back to what we saw at the very beginning in terms of what our Aveda is, and the Rebbe is going to explain how we do this, what this Aveda is about. Va'asu li migdash v'shechanti b'seichel. They should make for me a migdash, meaning do actions that bring about a revelation of Kedusha, is Kafya and is Hafcha, right? Those 2 different levels of Avodah that we've been talking about. V'shechanti b'seicham, and I will dwell amongst them. What does that mean? B'seichel echad v'echad. What does that mean? That means you and I can develop a consciousness that is sensitive to godliness. And so God is found in our heads in a very, very real way, because we see godliness in everything that we experience. How? By virtue of coming to an appreciation of that's what everything is. So our eyes, as much as our eyes are obviously vehicles to bring the world into our conscious reality, our eyes can also be like the menorah, right? And the menorah relates to the eyes, right? All the different limbs of the body are reflected by different kalim in the base of Mikdash, and the menorah is the eyes, obviously, that makes sense, right? Right? Light. So the menorah wasn't for illuminating the inside. The menorah is for the light going out. So to our eyes, what can our eyes be? Our eyes can either bring Gashmias into our conscious reality, which they do. That's why we don't bump into walls. Okay, but what else can eyes do? Shine the godly consciousness that exists in us out, so that when we see reality, we see Elokus. The godliness that has become part of our conscious reality shines on everything we see. We illuminate it with the godliness that it truly is. We're not creating something that's not there. We're not making something up, or bringing something into a reality that wasn't in reality. We're just seeing it properly. It's there. Now our eyes are that which help us see it, so that illuminates reality. We see the light of it, not the dark of it. How? Al Yedei Aveda, B'chnisis Kafi V'Zafcha, Cheshuchel and Nahara. The Aveda that the Rebbe was talking about, subduing and ultimately transforming the Yetzer Hara. Now again, the second chapter, the Rebbe is going to talk about how we do that more. You were just getting the basic equation. Hine, nasa, yedei zeh, what's brought about as a result of this? Yisran or. A greater light and a light, but we'll see what that means. Again, I'm going to disappear in a minute and make some copies and come back. The that it goes out, the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that exists in all of the worlds equally. Shemer misgalar seviv. Seviv is revealed. So you and I can reveal infinite godly light in the world by connecting to God's will. And revealing that will in the world and showing how really everything we see is simply an expression of God's will and is to be used in concert with that will. When we do that, so we reveal godliness in a very, very powerful way. Kitzer, synopsis of the first ois. Iker Shechina b'tachtenim, that's the thing we saw first in the first half of the first page. Yevar, he explains, to kavanas brias eilamas, that the intention of the creation of the world, the purpose of the creation of the world, sheyeh dir b'tachtenim, that there should be a dwelling place in the lower realms. In other words, godliness should be revealed in this world. How is that done? V'nasa al yedei iskafia v'ishafcho. That's done through these two different levels of Aveda that the Rebbe talked about, subduing the Yitzhar and ultimately transforming darkness to light. And what does that do? Shemaim shichar seviv, that draws down seviv, shezer b'chulam and b'shav, and that's a level of light that exists in all the worlds equally. Okay, that's chapter 1. Let me disappear for a second. I apologize. I'll get copies of our Rebbe's first mimer, one ois, half of one ois, and we'll see what the Rebbe says about the end here.
The more cells.
More cells. They popularized Blue Moon in the 60s.
There was really a song with Blue Moon?
Yes, you know that. More cells.
So what happened? I'm leaving. How come everybody else is leaving?
I couldn't tear myself away.
More than he just flies cross-platform issues.
And if you want to staple it onto the back of the booklets.
Just one page?
Yeah. Put it on the back, last page, which I should have done, and I apologize for not doing that. And now we'll, so just, we talked about this, but now I can show it to you, because I didn't have the Sefer. I had to feed the Rebbe Sefer. Here is Sefer Maimarim Bosi leGani Aleph. Right, now obviously if there's an Aleph, there's a base. All right, so what's Aleph? So we mentioned. These are the Maimarim of the Rebbe, Bosi leGani Maimarim, for the first 20 years of the Rebbe's Nasias, from Tafshin Yud Aleph to Tafshin Lamed. Now you'll see that some years there'll be a second Maimer, right? 4 times in that list. There's a second Maimer, because if Yud Shvat fell out on Shabbos, like this year's, then there would be a Farbrengen on Shabbos, the Rebbe say a Maimer, then it'd be a Farbrengen either Motzei Shabbos or Sunday night, it's another Maimer. So sometimes there are 2 Maimarim, right? But all of these Maimarim, every single one of them, begins with the same, exactly the same thing, Bosi leGani Achei Kala. Usually, every year, the Rebbe explains the first ois, Iker Shechina B'Tachtenim, etc., and then ultimately explains the idea in whichever chapter he's focused on that year. So this year, this is the Maimer from this year, Tafshin Chaf Hei, which is focused on chapter 50, and that's this Maimer here. It's about 8 pages, right? And there also is a Bosi leGani base, so that's Tafshin Lamed Aleph till Tafshin Mem Ches, same. Okay, so this year there's 2 Maimarim, Tafshin Chaf Hei and Tafshin Mem Hei. Okay, could I please have a sheet of paper and a stapler, please, and I'll do the same to mine here. Why not? So that if I don't bring a book, I'll have this. Okay, now, we're looking at now, please pass the stapler, we're now looking at our Rebbe's Maimer, Tafshin Yud Aleph, the first Maimer the Rebbe said, Ois Daled. Okay? That's all, that's all he got, so it's not like you have to worry about that. You can tell it's Ois Daled because it says Ois Hey after it, right? Doesn't have Ois Daled. Now, what is the Rebbe doing? The Rebbe is explaining a particular idea. Now, 3 times in the Rebbe's first Maimer, he goes through all of the Rebbeim. Alter Rebbe, Mittel Rebbe, Tzemach Tzedek, Rebbe Marash, Rebbe Rashab. Now, he doesn't usually have to quote the Frierdiker Rebbe because he's explaining the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimer, right? So he'll go through all of the Rebbeim and explain an idea based on all of the Rebbeim. So the first idea explained was Iker Shechina, right, which we saw at the beginning of the Maimer, Iker Shechina B'Tachtenim Ha'isa. What does that mean? What is Iker Shechina? That now the Rebbe is explaining this idea of this world being a place of tremendously powerful revelation. Right? That's what's happening right now. Okay, and we're going to see what now. It's interesting because the Rebbe does not use the words Yisur and R B Kaplan even once in this paragraph, but that really is what the Rebbe is explaining: the greater light that's revealed in this world. Okay. So starts with the Alter Rebbe. We're going to see the Alter Rebbe and the Mittel Rebbe. Now, if you look in Ois Hey, right, which we're not going to learn, it says V'hinei lo mibar l'shita shemei v'yadmar tzemach tzedek. Right after the Alter Rebbe, which we're going to see in the Mittel Rebbe, so then there's the tzemach tzedek. Right? So the Rebbe is going through all of the Rebbeim again relative to this idea. And the third time the Rebbe does it in the Maimer is the Rebbe tells a story about the Avos Yisrael of all of the Rebbeim, and that includes the Frierdiker Rebbe. Tells a story about their Avos Yisrael. V'hinei, Rabbeinu Hazaken Mevaer B'zeh explains. You want to staple this to the back of your thing? Here's a staple. Please pass the stapler back up here so that I can give it back to the office. Hine, Rabbeinu Hazaken Mevaer B'zeh. In Tanya, 36th chapter of Tanya is about the Tachtenim. Asher tachlis ishtaushtus eilos. The ultimate purpose of the downward emanation of all of the worlds, v'yiridasam, and their descent, Einay bishvil eilamas elyonim, is not for the sake of the upper worlds. As much as we learned in the first chapter, right? The Rebbe explained it to us very, very clearly, and I hope we have an understanding of the four worlds, right? And if not, so do a review and go over what we learned in the beginning of the Mimer, because that's what the Rebbe explains very, very clearly, and the place I'm going to find an explanation is in the Mimer of the Rebbe. Right? Okay, yeah, could this come up here, please? Yeah, thank you. So, thanks. So, what the main point that we learn from the Frierdiker Rebbe relative to the four worlds is that the higher worlds, the revelation of light, both quantitatively and qualitatively, is greater in the upper worlds than in the lower worlds, and that's what distinguishes the upper worlds from the lower worlds. That's why that's the distinction between A and B. This is a higher level and this is a lower level. What does that mean? More revelation, and not only more revelation in quantity, but also quality. We talked about both. Ha'or atzmai ba begilui. That was the language the Rebbe used. The light itself is a more powerfully revealed light. Not only does the kli not hide the light, meaning, so to speak, the lampshade, how much does it darken the light, right? So the four mashalim, we had the coffee cup, the Sprite bottle, the Coke bottle, and the ice cup. Okay, so each diminishes less the concealment of that which is in it. Okay, fine, to the extent that the ice cup is the same as that which is in it. Ice is H2O and water is H2O, and that's Atzilus. Okay, so you would think that the upper worlds are really what it's all about. Right? Well, obviously not, because the Abishur wanted to get here. The Rebbe says something absolutely astounding, and it helps us understand what Revelation's all about. Really amazing. It says the whole purpose of this enterprise called creation and all these worlds is not for the sake of the upper worlds. Why? The Rebbe gives an amazing, this is the Alter Rebbe, gives an amazing answer. Hoyel v'lahem, since to them, meaning relative to them, what are they? Yerida mi'or panav yizbarach. They are a descent from the light of his face, so to speak. In other words, they're a descent from a higher level. Okay. I might not understand that, but okay, fine. I take that for granted. The upper worlds, Atzilus is a descent from a level beyond it. Okay, that makes sense. So is a Lamabriya, right? What's it a descent from directly?
Bria?
Yeah.
Atzilus?
Atzilus, B'diuk, Yetzira.
Bria.
Yeah. Okay, so now you would assume that also applies to Elam Asiyah, right? That this world's also a descent from the world that it comes from. Right? So the Rebbe says you can't say it's about the upper worlds because they're a descent from a higher level. We're not? Well, I guess not, but I have no clue what that means. How can that possibly be? Why are we no less a descent from a higher level than they are? Okay, so now there is a rather major difference between our world and those worlds, and there's one word. You're supposed to think like I think, and that's impossible because it's, if you want to talk about spaghetti syndrome, so that's it. So it's not really fair to ask you to find the word I'm looking for. But there is what one world distinguishes between upper worlds and lower worlds, and distinguishes between any level, upper, lower. What's more of or less of? Revelation. Perfect. I can't believe you got in the middle of all that spaghetti and you found it. There was one little onion in the sauce that you got. Well, that was the onion. The onion's the best part, right? Maybe a piece of garlic. I don't know. Whichever you like best, the onion or the garlic. You got it. Revelation, right? And as a matter of fact, it's hard to say there's more revelation up there. You can leave out the word more. There's revelation up there. There's not very much down here. This doesn't reveal God very powerfully. Okay, mitzad itself, okay, maybe you and I have developed an appreciation of the fact that that's what it is, okay, but that might have been a function of very hard work. Simply, this thing does not reveal God very powerfully at all. Okay, So what's down here is concealment. Okay. So now what's the difference between revelation and concealment? What exactly is revealed? If you and I are looking at a reality called the revelation of God, I'm looking at a malach. We're going to take a field trip, an imaginary field trip, right? So once a college catalog written, and one of the courses was God. It was in the philosophy department. God, and then it said next to it, field trips included. Okay, so we're going to take a field trip. We're going to take a field trip to Olam. Let's go to Bria. Why? It's Yetzirah. We were already going to go. Let's go, right? We'll go to Olam Bria. Okay. What do we see in Olam Bria? You guys know, because we talked about it. I don't know what it looks like, and you don't know what it looks like. But what's there?
Angels.
Very, very lofty angels. Two highest levels of angels. Those levels of angels are up there. Right? Okay. 8 levels of angels are in Elam Yetzirah, 2 levels of angels are in Elam Bria. Okay. What else is up there? Souls. Gan Eden Elyon, right? Upper Gan Eden. Lower Gan Eden, Elam Yetzirah. Upper Gan Eden, Elam Bria. So all the souls of the Bit Tzaddikim are there. And all the souls of our loved ones are there because hopefully they've been elevated to that place. Okay, amazing. So now, when you're looking at that angel, so we talked about that. Again, I don't know what we see. You don't know, and I don't know, and none of us know. Okay, Beseder. But imagine you're looking at the angel. What do you see?
Godliness.
Godliness. Okay, so how does that work? Because we did talk about it. How does that work? You're seeing a being, but what's the being doing?
Reflecting.
More of a shadow.
Oh, revealing more of Hashem. So really, what's the being doing? Is he revealing himself or is he revealing his source? His source, right? That's really interesting, right? In other words, when you experience revealed reality, what are you experiencing? What I'm looking at is a lower level of reality that has a source in a higher level of reality, right? That's what revelation is. Oh, so what did the Rebbe say? Those worlds of revelation, what are they? Yerida mi'or panada. They're a descent from a higher level. Well, that's what revelation is. I'm aware of the fact that what I'm looking at comes from a higher level of existence, i.e., it's not that this is what is. There's something higher than this that is causing this to be. And that's called revelation. What's concealment? Just sort of looks like it's here. Doesn't tell me in any way, shape, or form what its source is. It doesn't even tell me if it has a source. Oh, manyan. No, like that. I mean, it's such an amazing idea of revelation. So it's not so much that you're seeing the angel. Of course you're seeing the angel. But the whole union of the angel is to reveal to you that it's not about me, it's about something higher than me that is the source of me. Oh, that's revelation. What does that look like exactly? I don't know. I mean, that must be quite an interesting experience. So that's our trip to Bria. What's our trip to Bria all about? That Bria is busy telling us, don't get so excited. Don't get so excited. It's not about me. There's something much bigger than me that's the source of all me. Tzilas. Okay. So therefore, the upper worlds are in a revealed way a descent from a higher level. Because that's what revelation is. Wow. The E.F. Charlemar, now the Rebbe makes a statement which I think is intuitively understood. E.F. Charlemar shakavani bishvil yerida. Can't possibly say that the intention of creation was for the sake of a descent of godliness. Right? And if you think about what Chazal said and the medrash that we quoted in our Maimer, the Rebbe is actually explaining that right now. The whole purpose of the creation of the world, different purposes in Chazal. We talked about it, right? But the most essential statement in Chazal regarding the purpose of creation is the Medrash Tanchuma in Parshas Nosoi. Okay, so it says that the Eibush had a taiva for dir b'tachtonim. Now, as we talked about, where, so to speak, was that taiva happening, and what level of godliness, so to speak?
Essence.
Essence, beautiful. So therefore, if essence wants to be revealed, then what's getting revealed? I guess essence, right? Not or. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, so what are those worlds all about? Or. And what's or by definition? We just said it. Huh?
Revelation.
Okay, true. What's revelation by definition? Because or and revelation are synonymous. A descent from a higher level. That's what or is all about. And think, why do we use the mashal of or for godly energy? When you experience physical or, what's the first thing you're aware of? You might not see it, but what do you know exists?
The source.
Source, as a source. It's coming from somewhere, right? And if you don't see the source, you go, where's this coming from? It can't be that it's here without a source. There's no such thing. Right? That's the nature of or. And that's why we use or as a mashal for godly reality, because godly revelation, because godly revelation is all about revealing a source. That's what it's revealing. What's it revealing? A source in something. What? I don't know. What's the source? Figure it out. Right? You're looking at Chochmah de Bria, you'll say, oh, the immediate source is Malchus of Atzilus. Okay. Is there a higher source than that? Yeah, there's a higher source than that. Okay. And usually the immediate source of something is revealed in it, whereas deeper, more essential sources might not be so revealed, even though I might be aware that they're there, but they're not as revealed, which is why you look like your parents and not necessarily like Adam Arisha. I don't know what Adam Arisha looks like. I don't know what Avram Avinu looked like, but you look like your parents. Why? Well, that's your immediate source in Gashmias. You have deeper sources in Gashmias. Avram Avinu is a source in Gashmias. Also in Ruchnias Beseder, I understand you've got his soul in you, but he's also, right? You're ben achar ben achar ben achar ben achar ben achar ben achar ben. Just keep going for a few generations from Avram Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Which Ima? I don't know. Not sure. Rachel, Leah, Zilpa, Bilhah, not sure. Right? Okay. Theoretically, if you're from Shevet Levi, you know most of us are either from Yehuda or Levi, right? There's some Binyamin mixed in there. Right, so, okay. So, I guess most people are from Leah, but there's some Rachel in there too. Mm-hmm. That's the nature of a source. Let's go a little further and we'll stop. The Yefshar Lemesha Kavana is really a Rida. When the Eibishter had the desire for a Dir B'Tachtenim, he wasn't interested in creating a lower level of reality. He was interested in whatever level of reality we were talking about, and Meisha's right, that was Atzmos, because up there in the essence of the Eibishter is where this taiva took place, whatever that means. So he wants to be revealed. What? The essence of the Eibishter wants to be revealed, which itself is a contradiction in terms, but that's okay. You can deal with that. So any level of revelation of light is a descent from that level. Wow. That's why we're not so into light. We get all hung up on light. There are a lot of people who are, in English, the term used, and it's a Yerushalayim term, is or junkies. People who are hooked on or. Hooked on spiritual excitement and, what's the word? Inspiration. Or. Okay, that was nice. But there's something deeper, and that's essence, which is beyond revelation. So how does that work down here? Let's see. Tina Yadua, the Bria who rak b'keich atzmos. The Bria is only from the power of essence. Now, we'll explain that in a minute, but let's go a few lines further. Kimesha Kosa be Gersa Kedesh, as is explained in Tanya, in Gersa Kedesh, right, the fourth part of Tanya. The 20th chapter of the fourth part of Tanya, which is a very, very important and essential chapter, which someday you should probably, sit down and try to figure out. Tanya Bechlal is pretty hard to figure out. All the parts of it. That his being and his essence. Now the Rebbe says something about the Eibishter that's really astounding, and we've talked about it. Shemitziyusei mi atzmusei, that his existence is by virtue of himself. What does that mean? The ein loy ila koidemis, chas v'shalom. He has no previous cause. Everything has a source in something else except one thing, God's essence. All of godly light has a source in a higher level of light. Or the highest level of godly light, that first light that we were talking about that somehow emerges from the essence, what's its source? The essence of Hashem. Yeah?
Is the Sova a part of this, or is that the essence?
Not the essence at all. That's our light.
Okay.
Not at all. It's light, which is infinite. Essence is not infinite. It's beyond infinite. It's the source of infinite, source of finite. So everything in existence has a source in something else except the essence of the Eibishter. And about the essence of the Eibishter, you can say something that can't be said about anything else. Mitziyusim etzmusa. It exists by virtue of itself. Where'd it come from? Don't know. Why is it there? Don't know. What does it do? Don't know. Don't know anything about it. This is the level of the Eibishter that is completely and totally beyond any understanding whatsoever. The only thing we can say about that level is that it is. And that isness is absolute isness. Why? Because it doesn't depend on any other is for its isness. Right? It just is. Every other level of is requires some other level to give it its isness, right? By definition, right? Every other level of reality requires a higher level of reality to give it its being. There's one level of being that exists by virtue of itself, and that's called the essence of the Eibishter. Every level of godly light, as amazing as it is, and as transcendent as it is, and as beyond our understanding as it is, it requires something to give it its being. Does not exist by virtue of itself. Therefore, it can go out of existence. Right? If the Eibishter decided, I'm not interested in light anymore. Poof. No godly light. What does that mean? I'm not interested in any aspect of my existence being revealed. I'm not interested in revealed existence anymore. Poof. No more revealed existence. What is there? Atzmos. It would be like, so to speak, the sun deciding, which obviously it can't do, but imagine it could. The sun deciding, I'm not interested in light. I don't want to give off light. I just want to be the sun. Okay, the sun has to give off light? No. The Eibishter can't create a sun that doesn't give off light. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Right. So that little bit of dark around the sun, they say there's that little the area of dark. Okay, so that would be the end. There wouldn't be any light on the other side of it. It'd just be that. That couldn't be. It could be. The Eibishter can do whatever he wants. Right? So all of a sudden the Eibishter decides, no more light out of the sun. Boom. So there's just the sun. There's no sunlight, just sun. Okay, so that's Etzem. Could that be? Well, that was for an infinite, or beyond infinite amount of non-time before anything else happened. That's what there was. But that doesn't mean anything, right? So there was just Etzem. There was just the Eibishter himself. What did he do up there? He played spider solitaire. I don't know. And then all of a sudden he had a kick. I want a dir b'tachtonim. That would be nice. I want a dwelling place in the lower realms. Explosion of infinite godly light. That light is sucked back into itself. Bing! This kav, this bakeya into the halal hareik, and all of a sudden that there's light emanating downwards until you end up with a slug leaving slime on a sidewalk. Where'd the sidewalk come from? Oh, there's people there also. They built the sidewalk. Why do you want that? Oh, because he wanted to be revealed down here. So therefore, I'm going to stop now, but just so we know where we're going. We'll see it tomorrow, and hopefully it'll get people out of bed tomorrow. All right? I mean, you guys are out of bed, but I have no complaints. Just saying, get me out of bed too. That it must be there's something about down here that's slightly different than the upper worlds, such that down here, interestingly enough, we don't have revelation, therefore we don't see a source. So there is a level of reality that's sort of similar to on some level. not source. There's no source. Now we do have a source. It's not true that we don't have a source, but it appears we don't have a source.
So we think
Okay.
So we think we exist by virtue of ourselves.
Well, yeah, well, that's our experience. I don't know whether you and I think that anymore. Hopefully, we don't think that, but we experience that. Right? I think when you and I, the first thing you and I do in the morning, once we're aware of that experience, is say that experience is not true, and we thank God for our existence, and that's called leGani. But that first moment, and it's interesting, the Rebbe says this in Parshas Told this stuff, Shimon Beis, absolutely astounding. It says that first moment of consciousness, before you click in and go, leGani, before leGani, what are you aware of? Etzel, just essential existence. Wow. Then you say, oh, wait, no. leGani l'fnei. Okay. But we have to see, so how does that all work in this world? Let's see. We'll see that tomorrow. Okay. Sorry, wait 1 second for all the